Hello and welcome to our discussion on artificial intelligence in learning and development. I'm Petra, the founder of Petra and Associates Consulting, a learning and development consultancy in British Columbia, Canada. And today we're joined by Danielle Wallace. Danielle is the Chief Learning Strategist at Beyond the Sky Custom Learning, an organization that provides custom corporate training solutions designed to be truly effective. Beyond the Sky has over a decade of experience delivering quality, on time, and on budget learning solutions, and their service have been provided to many of the top companies across the globe. Welcome, Danielle. So glad you're here.
So lovely to be here. Thank you.
Now, Danielle, could you start by sharing a little bit about your journey? How did you get started in learning and development, and how have you integrated AI into your work?
Yeah, so I started my journey within the world of marketing. So I was a marketer, getting people to change their behavior. And we had at our disposal a great marketing budget. So we were always at the forefront of using new technology. And I saw there was this 8-year gap, it felt, between the marketing world and then learning and development. And I really am committed to ensuring that perhaps learning and development is not 8 years behind from an AI standpoint. So that's my foray, and I'm just very passionate about this topic.
And so how have you started integrating it? I mean, that's kind of a great lofty goal, but when it comes to the actual day-to-day stuff, how are you integrating AI in L&D?
Yeah, it's pretty fun because, again, if we borrow from the world of marketing and look at learning and development, there is things that we can do on a base level set. So, and I have a framework that actually goes through this. The first part of that framework is really just thinking about, again, looking into what marketers are doing, which is, okay, how do we speed up and automate our workflow? Okay. How in learning and development do we speed up and automate our workflow? I think we have, as an industry in learning and development, a true opportunity to really do something that's actually effective and breakthrough and just really changes learners' behavior. Like we collectively are an industry with new skills, and I think we now have the ability to use technology for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so when you're saying how can we speed up and automate our processes, so specifically for learning and development, what processes come to mind for you first? What we can actually utilize AI?
Yeah, so I'll give you the framework at a glance. The idea of the framework is that this first level one is all about doing what we currently do in learning and development, but doing it faster. Level 2 is about actually doing things different, things that we can't do right now at scale. So using AI in new and novel ways. And then the third level is just a seamless integration. It's a bit harder to imagine it in DA. That's why we'll start off at the first level, the level 1. It's all about doing what we do now faster. For example, perhaps we write quiz questions now. Okay, now we have an opportunity to write quiz questions faster. Perhaps now we write scripts. Okay, now we have the opportunity to write scripts faster. Or we actually are creating a video. So we could use generative AI from image creation, you can actually use from stock image creation. We can create images quickly. We can create videos quickly from a prompt. A caveat, they should still be effective. So that's a whole another realm. But these are things we can do now. Petra, what are some of the things that you might do within a learning piece or within a consulting piece?
Yeah, so I actually, as I'm right now thinking about a client we have at the moment where we're looking at a learning management system and a change of a learning management system. And what you're talking about really is something that would impact this client tremendously. They have a lot of manual processes of enrollment, manual course creation processes, quiz questions. You hit the spot there. They were talking about that. Even understanding what are the differences of their clients' needs when they're customization of content. So all those areas, we are actually also looking at how can AI support them And ideally, how can that be integrated into their learning management system going forward, rather than, stitching together multiple solutions? So that's an
Exactly.
exciting project that we're doing right now in this area.
Yeah, it's so exciting that it actually enables a more efficient and effective way. I'll
Mhm.
share my screen to illustrate those levels. So I'm sharing my screen. So it's all within this first level, things that we might do faster. So even building upon that, it could be generating questions to ask a client within a consulting engagement. I can use generative AI for that, as well as creating a persona faster. Great, I can use AI for that. Brainstorming, creating slides. There's a number of tools that do that as well. I do want to caveat, we need to make sure these are all effective. But there's so much rich realm that we can be looking at from using, especially generative AI, which many of these examples are. We can use this now, let alone some of also tapping into some more of the examples that you have about using AI. There's so much richness right now that I do encourage everybody listening to just play test, try to use custom images from DALL-E or Midjourney into your course. It's faster. It can be more effective when used appropriately, so why not?
Mhm. And I think you've mentioned a few times we have to be sure that the effectiveness isn't going to be impacted in a negative way.
Yeah.
And I think this may be speaking to some of the big fears of AI. Oh my God, AI is coming in and is taking my job. So talk to that one, for those who may be listening and like, oh, I really don't like what I'm hearing, because right now I'm the one who writing questions. I'm the one who is creating content. I'm the one who is maybe working with a designer to create the images. And now a system comes in and does it all for me. And what about my job? Talk to that one,
Yeah.
Danielle.
So there's this huge fallacy that's happening right now in the industry that I'm seeing where business is like, great, I'll use AI, it needs to be done faster. Great. The vendor said it only takes me 6 minutes to create e-learning. I can create a simulation, I can create a quiz, I can create a video in 30 seconds. So this yardstick is time.
Mhm.
Who cares? Who cares if it's quick, if it's not effective?
Mhm.
And that's where our role as learning development professionals come into play, because we are the ones that need to validate to make sure it's effective. It's do heavy manipulation to make sure that whatever that solution is effective. It's not just creating slides. Great, we got training. It's dreadful, dreadful.
Mhm.
And we all,
Mhm.
as learning and development professionals, we know that it isn't about just creating a slide or creating a talking head video that makes for effective learning. So we have a lot of richness in our role as learning and development professionals to guide the business. So hand in hand, we are actually creating something that can be more efficient,
Mhm.
but is not sacrificing any of that effectiveness.
Even
And
potentially driving more of it, and having more ability to do more personalized learning, more customized learning, and be much more specific to the learner as well, and to the learner's responses, something that would be very often not possible, budget-wise, time-wise, resource-wise, not possible in organizations to bring in that sort of learning experiences that now maybe comes into the area of possibilities. So as we move to level 2, what are some of the learning experiences that AI enables, which were previously impossible with the older technology? Give us some examples.
yeah, exactly. And again, you bridge that so nicely from what we could be doing within the world of AI now, but actually diving into what's not possible with technology today. So on this level 2, and this framework's available on my website, it's having the learner interact with AI themselves. So it could be things such as a personalized chatbot. It's really the idea of creating at scale what we can't create right now. So a good example of that would be an e-learning course. Imagine, Petra, an e-learning course where instead of having a scenario with 3 quiz responses, great, choose these responses to a role play. What if it was 100% personalized? What if whatever you wrote in, you got actual feedback on that, or actual coaching advice, like for real, like based on you? That's what's possible now with AI. To help illustrate that, I can share an example that might bring this to life a bit more. So this is an e-learning course that I'll be sharing on my screen. And in particular, what it is a role play, but in a very safe format. So imagine that you're a manager, you have a direct report who wants to take time off over the holidays, but you've already set down the policy, like the policies you need to have it submitted like 3 months ago. But what do you say? What do you say in this situation? You need to respond with consistency to the policy, and you need to still show empathy and flexibility. So Petra, what might you say?
I hear that you have found out about a wonderful deal for the holidays. As you're aware, our policy is that you have to pre-book these vacation times. I want to be responsive to your desire, so let's check in with the team if this will be acceptable for everybody else.
Nice. And what's key here is whatever you're typing in is what it's going to be.
Yes.
And with generative AI, this allows us now to have truly personalized feedback. So it says, your response is empathetic and shows that you're considering the team's needs as well. However, maybe more effective to clarify, to clearly communicate the company policy and the reasons behind it to the team member. Mm-hmm. That will help set expectations and avoid misunderstanding.
Good point.
Yeah, I wondered if you might actually continue to do this in future. Right? Do you want to try another one?
Sure, why not?
Okay. So now imagine that your employee comes to you saying, my brother recently had a stroke and needs full-time care as he recovers. His wife's out of town for 2 weeks. She's asked me to care for him while she's away, but lives in another city. Can I please take the time I need to look after him? So you do need to consider responding with empathy, flexibility here.
Okay, so this time we have no idea what is the policy. So I'll make up a policy.
Okay.
I am so sorry to hear about your brother and the impact it has on the family. I fully understand that you want to support him. Our policy is, let's say the policy is that she's out of vacation, just to set a scene here. Our policy is that we cannot grant more vacation time than is assigned. However, we may be able to provide you this with unpaid time off so you can support your brother and your sister-in-law during that time you need. No, I again didn't say why we have this policy. The policy is to set expectations. Okay, we're now. I'm already being coached on this.
Yeah, see, look, it's fast. It's instant.
Yes, super fast.
Your response effectively communicated the company policy while also showing empathy towards your team member's situation. By offering unpaid time as an alternative, you demonstrate flexibility and a willingness to accommodate her needs. It strikes a good balance of being understanding and adhering to the company policy. So that's actually really good. And it allows us a way that people are actually learning by doing. So while I could have just taught these and had a quiz question, which is irrelevant. Yeah. Who cares? Or I could have just taught these and then had a multiple choice. Great. Like, who cares? This, Petra, got you to think as a learner. It got you to feel. It got you to practice a difficult conversations. Yeah. It's fun. We also have.
And so this is I'm assuming this is something that you've built in your organization, and that is something that you incorporate into your clients' learning activities. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. When it's the right
solution. Impressive. Yeah. Very impressive. Okay.
That's
all right.
The
so this goes to level 2 because that wasn't necessarily possible with previous technology, and organization may have substituted that with coaching sessions, etc. But that's very pricey. Not everybody can go that way or not have as much coaching as people could possibly use. So now let's look at your level 3. And when we're coming to level 3, AI promises seamless and predictive integration in learning and development. What does this look like in practice, and how does it fundamentally change the way organizations approach L&D?
Yeah. So the idea of level 3 is just a seamless integration into the flow of work. This is exciting, scary, interesting all at the same time. It is yet to be imagined, but if you can think about it purely from an objective point of view, imagine if your friend Eric, a learner, so let's not put ourselves in, let's just imagine someone else. Eric comes to work, he knows he needs to have a difficult conversation with somebody, and imagine if he's getting like real time, before he needs it, prompts on what he should be prepping before the meeting. That would be, I'm just thinking about that last example. That would be helpful if he knew, oh, I've got a meeting coming up, I better prepare this. And consider, maybe Eric, you should review the company policy. You should respond with empathy. Here's some good ways to respond with empathy. Eric, in the past, you've not responded with empathy. Some people just aren't empathetic. Here are some things you could say to sound more empathetic. And remember, this is some of the guidelines. Like, what if that was fed automatically to you before the meeting started? What if, when you're using a new software, that there was no training needed because there's contextual help in there before you came to it, like before you needed it? What if you are, what if you had this digital virtual companion, this digital virtual assistant that was always there, feeding you what you needed exactly when you needed it? So whether that is, imagine you're going for a run. I could hire myself a coach. I run, I could hire myself a coach. Or what if I had this virtual visual coach? So it feels like I'm running with somebody, because I like companionship. And they were encouraging me, because personally, that's what I need. I need encouragement. So it would automatically do that for me. And it would tell me to go faster and keep pace, which is like what I need, like just what I needs. Very different from somebody else. Imagine that. Imagine everything's proactively, seamlessly there. What this leads to, though, is learning and development is just really redefined. So the role of a learning development professional is different. Still there, just in a different capacity.
Right. Now, while the potential of AI is obviously vast, you have a lot of kind of great ideas and imaginations and what could this look like in the future. What are some of the key challenges and ethical considerations that organizations need to be aware of when integrating AI across these 3 levels?
Yeah, I'd say 2 big considerations, especially one right now, which is governance policies. Many organizations are still grappling with creating an effective governance policy. Keeping up to date is going to be a challenge. Like, if organizations aren't thinking about that regularity of that, that's a huge challenge. Even just getting one aligned is difficult. Equal access is difficult. And then even once there is governance policies and equal access, things like Copilot rolled out, their employees aren't even using it anyhow. So you got this very uneven use of AI, which both prohibits use, it stifles use, and people aren't motivated to use it anyhow. So that's an issue that will affect learning and development. It affects organizations at large, but I think has particular impact on learning and development going forward, which does help mitigate some of the other things, with being mindful of risks. So when we're using generative AI, I'll just speak to learning and development. When we're using generative AI to create scenarios, for example, the scenarios get actually really generic, which is an issue, like overly generic. And you need to be mindful of bias. I was creating, there was a little hackathon at the ATD TK conference, and I really, really, really wanted to create an attractive, ethnically ambiguous person for one of it was like a dating challenge. Like I really wanted to be ethnically ambiguous. That was actually important. Couldn't do it. It always came up with a Caucasian male, and always with a beard. You tried not doing a beard, and you still got the beard. And this was supposed to be an older person, and it was mutually exclusive to have attractive and older. Like, really?
Yeah.
Um,
So those are challenges that maybe are because they're on the path.
yeah,
We're still in development. I
yeah,
mean, we're not at the end game of what technology can do. And I think the learning, talking about machine learning, the learning is still happening. Now, I'm curious about what you said about kind of more the ethical challenges. I mean, and understand even here we're talking about accessibility, we're talking about inclusiveness of the solutions. I hear you there with your challenges, but even setting up the right policies. What can they not do in the workplace? How do you suggest organizations should approach this? Get started with it.
yeah. So in general, the governance policies is it can be championed by learning development, which is amazing to have learning development creating our own table, bringing others to the table. It does need other players, so you have to ensure that legal, finance, operations, all the business units are represented. Marketing, communications. That's table stakes for this table we're creating, and inherent in that it becomes a process. So I fully recognize the time requirements for that, but it is imperative that all the different groups do align and there is consensus at that. And then secondly, so that's the overall governance policy, which often is maintained, held, kept through compliance. Useful to get it out of compliance as well, to make sure everybody has a stake in the policy. And then typically the second thing that happens is organizations then vet tools. So they say, yes, we can use this. No, we can't use that. Oh, this is the process to get a new system approved, which everybody knows takes like a year. It's a long process. So within this amazing governance process that is so essential, I do have this watch, or this caveat I say, of this fear that it's too late. So both too late because your employees are getting around it. They're using generative AI, those who want to be using it. And then it's too late because those who should be using it in the role, once you roll it to policies, will not. They will not. It's too much effort. It's not, they don't see the reason why. And especially within learning and development, I definitely see that we're not.
So it could be a generational shift. I'm assuming that younger generations are coming in, they're more open to using it, or am I biased?
I don't think it's a generational. I think it's just simply a matter of great governance at the outset. So like, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, being stop using AI because it's not secure. And yeah, you can't use open AI for your work. Like, of course you can't. But with so many organizations have not adequately rolled out a governance policy in time. And I just mentioned it takes a lot of time. So that's like a catch-22. So I don't think people are using it in their workplace as much as they could be, even when it's sanctioned, to allow the efficiency. So even that level 1 I spoke of, and that's all I'm speaking about from an organization standpoint, I think we have both an impetus to help ensure our employees are actually using AI effectively.
Right. And stay within
staying within
the boundaries that we're setting. And I think that's also an interesting one where I feel larger organizations and smaller organizations are very different in very different situations. Putting the resource behind it, putting policies behind it, but also maybe creating a closed circle of information so that smaller organizations are probably less likely able to do. So having access to a system where we're really using our own internal data and we're not spreading things out into the bigger, wider web universe. Exactly. Well, lots of challenges still ahead. And also a lot of opportunities. Danielle, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your insights, sharing your examples. That was very impressive. You really did put me on the spot here. I started sweating a little bit. And
Mimicking real life. This
it
is
was a
at scale.
great
This is lovely.
example. I loved it. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, sharing your three layers, because I think that really helps people to structure and think about AI in very practical terms, and then start having those internal discussions if they haven't started yet. So I really appreciate you coming to the microphone today for us, and I look forward to having another conversation with you, because obviously there is so much more to dig into.